Mykthology, as I am calling it, is a field of study combining that of mythology and mycology. The origin of the words Mukes and Mythos from the Greek are of disputed and unknown roots. I contend that they are of similar and interrelated origins from an ontological connection, certainly phonetic and probably etymological. Mykthology is an attempt to rekindle that connectedness of fungus and superstition. Previously, I have spent time talking to some extent the roots of religion in mushroom cults. This, however, is going to be different, as mykthology has an overarching implication. Though neurotransmitters have their place in mykthology, we will broach that subject in future parts to this series. In comprehending religion, folklore, superstition, paranormal phenomena, and mythology, we must look to the causes, roots, and baselines for the development of superstition and myth. From the earliest humans, systems have been in place to describe, predict, and combat the natural world. Floods, drought, disease, fertility, dreams, prosperity, famine, hope, and death are some of the central themes of mythology and folk knowledge. It was through the experience of these natural phenomena that ancestral humans founded reasons and precautions and remedies for dealing with the world. Whether they personified rainstorms or anthropomorphized diseases into demonic entities is not the focus of mythology. What we are interested in is the technicality behind the methods to stave off such demonic forces, or encourage certain weather, and what that ultimately reveals about the unnatural mythological world across cultures and time. For this first part, we will explore the stinking rose while simultaneously defining mythology. Think of it as an example to illustrate and legitimize the study as a whole. The culinary and medicinal use of garlic goes very far back into ancient Asia, where it is native, and from its popularity and perhaps peculiarity, spread all over the world. Regarded for its pungent smell and sulfuric compounds, garlic contains many important healing qualities. Most importantly for our study is its antimicrobial and antifungal properties. In Sanskrit, the word for garlic meant panacea, or cure-all. The folk use of garlic is impressive in scale. King Tut's tomb was filled with many bulbs of garlic. Garlic was held in high esteem by the ancient Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, Babylonians, Indians, and Chinese in a variety of superstitious and medicinal ways. Garlic was fed to slaves to keep illness from them in Egypt. The Romans and Greeks ate garlic before battles, and furthermore, the Greeks would place garlic in crossroads to confuse demons. Garlic was hung in the room to guarantee a healthy childbirth. Most famous of garlic's folkloric usage is the repulsion of vampires and other demonic creatures. It was also noted to help cure mosquito bites. Multiple Greek and Roman physicians like Hippocrates and Pliny wrote about garlic's diversity in curing a wide range of illnesses from colds to infections to leprosy, epilepsy, and even cancer. The practice of hanging garlic around one's neck or in houses around the windows or doorways and rubbing garlic under chimneys and keyholes to protect from demons spread into Europe. And elsewhere, similar superstitious use of garlic became a staple for fending off demons and diseases. With an adequate amount of folk myth accounted for, we can begin to break down the reasoning and purposes behind these practices in context of our mythological study. We must first break the illusion of other dimension beings as our modern understanding of supernatural and paranormal beliefs are presented as. The image of a demon today has become this abstract force of evil, a malignant creature existing in a spiritual body. This trend towards the abstract is key in understanding the origins of our supernatural, divine, and demonic predilections. To humans from antiquity and to many other peoples who still believe and practice their culture's traditional folk science, a demon or evil spirit is an invisible force. That much remains true, but it is one that is simply unseeable until it infests you. Mythology tells us ancients believed demons manifested in the form of diseases in the body. If you could prevent a demon from entering your home by hanging garlic, what does that tell us of the nature and the composition of the demon? That such a terrifying spiritual force is afraid of smelly food? Now replace demon with fungus and we can see some interesting results. Fungal spores are certainly invisible. They would need to come in through open airways like windows or keyholes to enter in a house, in the case of this example. And garlic's well-known antifungal chemicals happen to be the talisman which protects from demons, is a parallel worth exploring. By reverse engineering the psychological superstition of non-corporeal beings and entities, we can see how traditional folk humans were defining something impossible to see, save for its effects, the byproducts of demonic infestation like sickness, infection, mold, or the cures to those things. Using personification and anthropomorphization of these mysterious forces is actually genius, and not in any way a primitive, childlike explanation of the world around us, as we like to currently believe. It was the following generations and us today that assumed these ghosts and spirits were non-corporeal entities of some fantasy myth because those people were too stupid to understand nature. They understood it and found ways to fend off the fungi and bacteria that is prevalent in all parts of the world, in every facet of life. Garlic being associated with so many legends of warding off demonic forces and preventing illness and preserving longevity is a direct and impressive measure for fighting fungi. Fungi, being the cause of almost all the diseases of man, gives garlic its huge resume of being able to cure such unrelated diseases like leprosy, arthritis, cancer, mosquito bites, and the cold. Disease is the body succumbing to fungi. The ancients saw this as being cursed, as being bitten by vampires, touched by demons, displeasing the gods, so on and so forth. But do not let this single example of garlic convince you of the validity of Mykthology. I will be continuing this study with many different examples, though each will have one primary factor, its relationship to fungi. Cultures that avoided and condemned natural and folkloric practices actually trend towards the abstract when dealing with God and the supernatural. Take a look at Christianity as it drove out heresies and local countryside inhabitants. They replaced garlic as a means of driving out demonic, miasmic, or fungal forces for the cross against these non-corporeal entities from a place called hell. It is hardly fair to belittle ancient belief for the lack of a microscope. Viewing these beliefs in a post-Leeuwenhoek world without acknowledging that something invisible like fungal spores and bacteria could be behind the superstition and the reasons for particular medical choices is the fault of our own historians, scientists, and theologians. A study like Mykthology should have existed around the time of Leeuwenhoek's discoveries, and again with Pasteur. Similar to how we are learning that religion's origins are found primarily in fungal neurotransmitters, the greater part of folk superstition, mythology, traditional medicine, and the paranormal is likewise found in fungal spores present in the air at all times, and the corresponding preventatives and cures. So this is just the first part of this study, an introduction, if you will. Future topics I want to cover soon within the field of mythology are alternate cures, house spirits, and there's a host of other plants, herbs, and spices like garlic bearing deep spiritual powers in folk legend, as well as discussing further that devolving into the abstract that forms the basis of our ideas of heaven, hell, angels, demons, God, and the rest of the paranormal. Thanks for watching.